Hello everyone. At the present time there's a lot of talk about China in relation to the virus and in relation to its influence overseas. One of the things I know about China is that at one time there was a great philosopher there called Confucius. Confucius wrote many things on human wisdom. One of the things that I remember, probably the only thing I remember about Confucius, is a piece that I've read in a book one time in which he said, if you see someone doing evil, examine yourself. That phrase comes back to me so often because in today's world there's a lot of finger pointing. A lot of finger pointing in terms of blaming people or countries or asking people to take responsibility for things and maybe not asking ourselves, are we doing the same? Why is that? That there's a tendency within me to point the finger at others and not take responsibility. I suppose the reason for it is because when we point the finger at others, it gives us a sense of power. A sense of power that allows us to avert ourselves from our own weakness and vulnerability. That is because often we don't want to meet that vulnerability. We don't want to face it. We don't want to face the fact that we are weak and as human as everyone else. Why do we not want to do that? Because we think that we're not going to be loved if we admit it. This Sunday we see a beautiful story in the Gospel of Jesus appearing to the disciples in the upper room on the great feast of Pentecost. His first words to the disciples are, "Peace be with you." If anyone needed to do finger pointing, it was Jesus. Those around him had let him down badly. But he doesn't come into the upper room and say to them, "Where were you? I thought you said you would go follow me to the end." But no, he says, "Peace be with you." He wants to let them see that what he brings is not finger pointing, but showing people his wounds. By his wounds we are healed, not by our own righteousness, not by our own deeds, nor are we condemned by our own weakness and frailty. If we look to Jesus and ask him for his saving grace. That saving grace comes in the power of the Holy Spirit, in which he breathed on the disciples in the upper room. That filled them with joy and dispelled any doubts about their own worth and value. And they could now see that people had worth and value not in terms of what they did or didn't do, but in terms of what Jesus did for them. That is the good news. We live in a world today that many people say that you must, in a sense, have a positive view of yourself. And that's true to a point. But more importantly, is to have a view of ourselves that Jesus has of us, who comes to us in our hearts when we're confused, when we're broken by our own weakness and sinfulness, and helps us to see that we are redeemed and loved. We must constantly remind ourselves of that fact. One of the things that I constantly see in my own life, that when I'm not doing that, is that when I begin to concentrate on the faults of others. The faults may be a fact. Yes. But my response to them doesn't have to be determined by cold logic. I'm better, they're worse. No. We are called to look on all those who do things wrong, even those who've harmed ourselves, with the mercy and grace of Christ. Those sins that we retain, they are retained. Those sins that are forgiven, they are forgiven.